director for Bernie here in Colorado. We've been here for a few months already, working on the ground. But now, as you know, we're getting down to the wire. The ballots drop in less than a month. So everybody will have their ballot in less than a month. And so we have no time to waste. We have to get off the sidelines and do everything we can to make sure Bernie wins. Has anybody here volunteered for the campaign or not volunteered for the campaign? Not volunteered so far. Okay. So you're that's what's so cool. You know, we have been out here for a while. Anthony, who you'll meet in a little bit, has been here doing canvassing and phone banking for a while, and the fact that we have so many new people is just amazing. You know, I've been working for Bernie for this particular campaign for several months now, but I was involved in 2016 I was part of the steering committee, and I really became involved in the campaign more in an emotional way, where everything Bernie stood for was what I stood for, but I didn't have it all rolled up in one candidate before. I mean, I did work on the Obama campaign in 2012, and I disagreed with some of the things he put in place, but he was the candidate. So now we have a rare opportunity to put someone like Bernie in the White House, someone who has stuck to his values, working hard to help the working people. For, you know, Medicare for All has been a dream of his for 30 years. He's been talking about climate change for 30, 40 years. He's been talking about labor and the importance of having unions and equal pay and a living wage for 30, 40 years. So he has not changed. Right. You know, he's been constant, and you know, you can trust him when he says something, he means it. He doesn't test the political winds to see what is, you know, politically correct and what's going to get him more votes. He does what he thinks is right, regardless of whether it's popular at the time. And I think that's what brought me on board in 2016. Because honestly, I didn't know who he was. You know, I had a friend who was volunteering for him at a rally at DU, and she had signed her daughter up to go with her, and her daughter kind of flaked on her, so she asked me to go, and I was like, okay, I'll help you if you need, but we went to DU, and they had so many volunteers, they didn't know what to do with us, so they just asked me to sit at the front row. They just said, just go sit down, and then we'll just wait. And I was a little concerned, or I just thought it was weird that there were like this huge 5,000 seat space, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's gonna look horrible. There's gonna be like 200 people here, nobody knows who he is. And the place was jam-packed, and there was 5,000 inside and 2,000 outside watching on a big screen. And I remember thinking to myself, who is this guy, and how is it that so many people know who he is and I don't? And it was because of the supporters that had been talking about him. And so in 2016, our challenge on the campaign was getting people to know who Bernie was. And it was at that rally that I realized that this was the person that I really wanted to work for and really wanted in the White House. Because everything he said and the different issues that he talked about, I could relate to in different parts of my life, whether it was healthcare and my mom having died of cancer, my dad getting wiped out with medical bills, my daughter dealing with student loans. I mean, it was like across the board. You know, salaries being really low, and I really connected with him in that way. And I think that is how he has started this political movement. And it's all about personal stories and connecting with other people who are going through the same thing, and connecting with Bernie in the fight that he's been fighting for 40 years. So right now, our challenge isn't that nobody knows who Bernie is. Our challenge is that everyone knows who Bernie is. And we are fighting against so many different big dollar entities. Whether it's the media, healthcare industry, pharmaceutical industry, oil and gas, I mean, they all hate us because we're a big threat. And think about this movement that Bernie has created without the big dollars. And it's all about the personal connections that we're making, the volunteers grouping up in teams. And you know, I have some Super Balls here that can tell you about these volunteer teams that have developed and have shared their stories with voters across not only Colorado but across the country. And that is our strategy. You know, Bernie's team is you guys. I mean, he doesn't have the corporations backing him up. He doesn't take super PACs. He didn't have super PACs, doesn't take money from the big corporations. So he is relying on everyone here to help him help us and help each other. This is it. Y'all are Bernie's team. You know, you think about Bloomberg coming in and he's already spent $200 million, more than Bernie's raised in the entire year, in a matter of weeks. He's hiring up big time here in Colorado. I don't think he'll make a dent in our support, but he's got the resources. And the campaign, our resources are you guys. So that's why, I mean, I'm so excited to see so many people here, and especially new volunteers. Who has never worked on a political campaign ever? Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Who wants to come up and tell us why this time around? What made you come here if you've never volunteered? Who wants to volunteer to tell their story? You want to come on up and just say what brought you here?
Well, I was watching, I went to my parents' house and they were watching some political thing, you know, which I was like, I checked out after Kennedy was killed. So, welcome back. There was a political thing on TV and they were asking what is the most important issue of our time, and one of the candidates said climate change. And I was like, whoa. Who is this guy? And it was Bernie. And so I haven't been involved in any kind of political thing at all, but this guy standing up in front of, as a presidential candidate, saying the most important issue of our time is climate change. Well, I'm all over that. So now I'm all over Bernie. And in 2016, I canvassed as often as they'd let me, you know? Yeah. So that's my story.
It's
Okay, all right.
I recently came out as transgender, and I wanted to find a candidate that would give me the best chance at being able to live a full life without unnecessary hardship. And when I looked at I was comparing especially Warren and with Bernie, and it was like they both seemed like good candidates, but I could look back at Bernie's history and see how he's consistently stood by these values. He's consistently stood by everything that he believes in. And I was like, yeah, I know that I can trust him, so that's where I'm going to place my bet.
Yeah.
Awesome.